A woman's life is turned upside down when she receives anonymous information hinting at an inappropriate relationship between her husband and one of their adopted children. One morning at the police station, an officer asks the unsettled Adia if her family has been experiencing any problems at home recently, but she just stares blankly ahead. When the policeman inquires whether she noticed anything unusual at home or if her parents had been acting strangely before the incident on Sunday, the teen struggles to hold back tears. 2 days earlier, Adia's adoptive mother, Deline, finishes an online interview where she uses her legal expertise as a lawyer to explain that the first place a child learns about violence is within their household. She adds that, since she has a multinational family herself, the value of one's life, regardless of ethnicity, class, or background, is something a person first learns at home. After the interview, the lawyer relaxes and gazes out the window at her husband, Antoine, who is skimming leaves from the pool. Moments later, Deline heads to the bedroom to quickly change into her bathing suit. Then, she walks into the kitchen, where her husband asks how the interview went. She replies that, although it went well, she felt sad immediately afterward. Despite Antoine's protests, the woman insists he should prepare a drink for their son, who is leaving in 2 days. Meanwhile, the couple's adopted son, Asen, is teaching Adia how to properly care for his pet snails while he studies entomology in New York. He makes it explicitly clear that, of all the snails, she must not let Lily out, as the mollusk is poisonous. Seconds later, the sister tells him she will be staying over at a friend's house tomorrow, annoying Asen, who thought she'd stay home on his last day in France. To soothe her brother, Adia reminds him that he'll be in the US for only a year and that they will communicate every day regardless. However, when she sees how hurt he is by her decision, she reveals that she was just joking and that she will stay home tomorrow. Before leaving his room, she glances through the doorway and solemnly remarks how strange it will be without him around the house. Later, after Antoine and Asen play Scrabble, the latter playfully flips Adia as floaty, but she angrily retorts that he could have caused her to drop her phone in the water. Antoine diffuses the situation by helping his daughter out of the pool and handing her a towel. Then, Deline joins the family with a tray full of drinks, offering them to her husband and children. While the couple lounges by the pool, the lawyer asks her writer husband about his latest manuscript. He expresses his worries about potential negative reviews of the novel. Suddenly, the phone rings, and Deline goes inside to answer it. To her surprise, the caller does not reveal her identity but claims to be Antoine's work colleague, reaching out regarding a delicate matter. The anonymous woman explains that she went out with some co-workers on Tuesday night, including Antoine, who got very drunk. She adds that while helping him in the restroom, he apparently confessed to having an inappropriate relationship with one of his children. Shocked by this information, Deline logically questions why she should believe the caller, who might be maliciously spreading lies to ruin the family. The mystery woman insists that she has known Antoine for years and has no intention of harming the lawyer. However, she admits there's no easy way to share such sensitive information. Still reeling from the phone call, Deline looks out the window and watches her family lounging by the pool with worry. Minutes later, Deline calls her assistant, Julian, to trace the phone number but lies that it is for one of their cases. However, when Julian calls back, he reports that he cannot trace the number because the call came from a phone booth in Paris. Eventually, Deline returns to the pool and gives Antoine a wary glance. Then she notices Adia sunbathing topless at the other end of the pool. She approaches her daughter and casually tells her to put on a shirt before getting sunburned. Seconds later, as Deline observes her children playfully trying to push their father into the water, she begins to see their interaction in a new, unsettling light, given the disturbing information from earlier. While everyone else enjoys the bright summer day, the lawyer returns inside to snoop through her husband's phone. Then she sneaks into Adia's room and finds male contraceptives in a small pouch hidden in a drawer. Later, Deline joins Asen in his bedroom, where they share a spliff. She asks if he knows whether his sister is dating anyone. He jokingly says he won't reveal any of Adia's secrets. Deline sighs deeply and explains she just wants to make sure her daughter is safe from the many dangers in the world. Perplexed, Asen wonders if the illicit substance has made his mother unnecessarily paranoid. Meanwhile, Adia asks Antoine if they will visit her brother in New York, and he confirms they will. As she's busy crafting a heart shape with a plastic water bottle and a lighter in hand, she asks her father to scratch her chin. The teenager also tells him to check her neck for any redness, and he reassures her that she isn't sunburnt. Once Adia finishes crafting the heart, she hands it to Asen, who promises to keep it close to his chest at all times. Later, when the lawyer returns to the pool, she notices that her husband and daughter are no longer there. Eventually, she finds them in the kitchen, where Antoine is applying a cream to an injury on Adia's thigh. However, because of the mysterious phone call earlier, the woman imagines her husband kissing and touching the teenager inappropriately. The mother asks what happened, and they explain that Adia burned herself with the melted water bottle. Annoyed and eager to break the awkward tension, Deline scolds Antoine for using vitamin D lotion on the wound instead of an antiseptic. In the bathroom, while treating the teen's burn, she mentions the prophylactics she found. Betrayed by her mother's invasion of privacy, Adia insists she only bought them as a joke with some friends at school. When Deline explains that she doesn't want any secrets between them, Adia says she doesn't need to worry about her and storms out to calm down. The lawyer stares at her reflection in the mirror before taking some medication. Passing by the kitchen, she tells Antoine she's heading to the school for a meeting. Later, Asen takes a bucket from the freezer and starts chewing on ice, much to his father's irritation. When the son asks Antoine to make him a sandwich, the latter agrees only if Asen stops chewing on the ice. Meanwhile, Deline stops by the side of a road atop a dam and calls her husband's colleague, Bridget, to ask about the party on Tuesday. The woman tells her not to worry because although Antoine was intoxicated during the celebration, he behaved well and only socialized with other guests. After the call, Deline gazes down at the steep drop beside the dam, marveling at how far it is to the bottom. In the present, Asen tells the police officer that even though his mother opposed his move to New York for school, his father encouraged it since it's the best university for entomology. The son adds that the lawyer was always busy or meeting someone, which is why he and his sister spent most of their time with Antoine. Finally, the officer asks if both parents knew one of his snails is poisonous, and Asen nods. 2 days earlier, the family dines at a restaurant, where the father notices tension between his wife and daughter. After Antoine and Asen step away briefly, Adia apologizes to her mother for her earlier behavior and admits she's been seeing a boy from school named Adam. She calmly states that honesty and openness are the only things she wants between them, implying she's okay with dating. Later that night, the family has after-dinner drinks with friends, and the children dance with their parents. However, once home, Asen suddenly blurts out that he doesn't want to go to New York because he'll be lonely again. When he says he never really has a family, Adia hugs him and promises to visit as often as possible. Antoine embraces his children, but when Deline sees the tender moment, she tells Asen to stop crying. Hurt by her lack of sympathy, Asen storms upstairs to his room, followed by Adia. Disappointed with her wife's handling of the situation, the writer silently walks to the kitchen. In the bedroom, Antoine points out Deline's sour mood all day, so she suggests they have some liquor before bed to relax. The wife reminds her husband it was his idea to send Asen to New York, and he explains their son needs to learn independence. Then, Deline casually brings up the work party and asks if Antoine remembers who helped him when he was drunk. Antoine says it was a woman but can't recall her identity, and the smile on Deline's face immediately fades, since the mysterious caller was also female. Hours later, the writer wakes up in the middle of the night and sees Asen sitting by the pool with an ice bucket beside him. The son shares he couldn't sleep and tells his adoptive father they need to reveal their secret to Deline. Antoine believes it's a bad idea because it will break his wife's heart, but Asen counters that he should have thought about the consequences 2 years ago. The son thinks Antoine planned his move to New York as a way to get rid of him. The writer expresses how painful the decision is but adds that he loves both his son and wife in different ways. Suddenly, Asen kisses Antoine, revealing that he's the adopted child the man has been having an affair with, not Adia. The father gently pushes his son away just as clueless Deline looks out the window. Seeing this, she believes her husband and child are simply having a heartfelt conversation. The following day, the lawyer surprises everyone by postponing Ozan's flight by another week as an apology for her behavior the previous night. However, the writer speaks to her privately and mentions that she never consulted him before making the decision. The wife replies that she was just acting on impulse and thought he wouldn't mind. Before leaving for the village, Deline calls one of her phones and places it under a pillow on the couch so she can eavesdrop on her family while she is away. Meanwhile, Alan tattoos a snail on his sister's ankle, and they both wonder why their mother changed the flight so suddenly. Later, the mother listens in as the kids join their father in the study and hears the son ask his sister to buy some worms for his pet snails. Then, while Antoine and Alan are alone, she overhears Alan say that he plans to tell his mother he wants to leave for New York tomorrow, as originally intended. Annoyed, the writer does not want to discuss it and comments on how strange his wife has been acting lately, implying that she might suspect the affair. However, the frustrated son points out that the father always talks about Deline but never about him, and expresses how he's had enough of the conversation. Antoine leaves the study and goes to the poolside cabana to continue working on his manuscript. Minutes later, Asen joins him, and as they acknowledge their mutual romantic feelings, the two men give in to their desires and make love. As the lawyer approaches the house, she sees Adia standing in the driveway, talking on the phone, so she decides to leave the car on the road and sneak through the pool area. To her horror, Deline catches her husband and adopted son in the cabana, confirming the mystery caller's claims. When they spot her, the pair scramble to pull their pants up and fail to provide a reasonable explanation for what she just witnessed. Disgusted and heartbroken, the lawyer calls Antoine a monster and wonders if he realizes how much he has destroyed her life. Suddenly, Ozan interrupts and explains that he and his adoptive father are in love, and that he was never exploited. Appalled by what she has seen and heard, the furious woman screams at them to get out of her sight. Unsure how to handle the situation, Antoine orders his son to find his sister and get the first train back to Paris. In the present, the police officer questions the writer about his wife's history of self-harm, and he explains it happened after they lost their biological child a few weeks after birth. He adds that they adopted Adia 2 years after their son's death, and took in Ozan 7 years following the incident. However, when asked if he recalls any significant events leading to Deline's shocking behavior, the man lies and says no. One day earlier, a dazed Alan tells his sister that they need to leave for Paris because their mother caught them in the act, and the teen's silent reaction suggests she already knew about the inappropriate relationship. Minutes later, the lawyer drives up to the siblings and tells them to get in the car. Soon, the writer catches up and says that the daughter had nothing to do with the affair, but Adia admits she knows all about it. The brother explains he had to tell her because she saw them together. Shocked and heartbroken to be the only one kept in the dark, the stunned lawyer gets back in the car and drives away alone. Later, she spends the early evening drinking away her sorrow. The next day, the writer wakes up in the study when he hears his wife's car pull into the driveway. He joins Deline by the pool, where she mentions that she had no idea he was attracted to men. However, Antoine clarifies that he isn't, because the only man he's ever been attracted to is Ozan, even though he insists he never stopped loving her despite the 2-year affair. She states that things will never return to normal because he ruined everything. The lawyer believes one family member has to leave, and her husband says that's why he wanted their son to study in New York. Nonetheless, Deline says Alan is leaving tomorrow as planned, so they just have to pretend to be a happy family for one more day before parting ways. The woman tells the writer she wishes she had never met him. Minutes later, she tells her children to put on their swimsuits so they can enjoy the sunny day together while she takes a dip in the pool. The rest of the family watches awkwardly in silence. Insisting on pretending everything is fine for the next 24 hours, Deline heads to the kitchen to prepare drinks for everyone. However, as she passes by the window, she sees her husband and son staring at each other longingly. The woman then goes to Alan's bedroom, grabs the poisonous blue snail lily, and returns to the kitchen to blend it into one of the drinks, creating a deadly mixture. Recalling her earlier realization that one of them must go, Deline places 3 identical drinks on a fruit stand and spins it several times so even she doesn't know which one is tainted. Eventually, she returns to the poolside, hands her daughter the only safe glass, and lets Antoine and Alan pick theirs. Fully aware she has a 1 in 3 chance of drinking the poisonous concoction, the lawyer takes one last look at her family. As Deline takes the first sip, she immediately notices the strange taste. She leans her head back on the lounger and waits for her inevitable death.